tell you something.
But making women cover up for things that God naturally gave them is inherently sexualizing.
No. Okay, then why do we walk around naked?
But that's just decency and modesty. And then with the restrictions that Islam places on it, like covering your entire mouth,
where does morality come from? Because what you've said is now, for example, who decides, okay, argument, why can't a woman not show her nipples? A man can go topless. IslamNet is raising funds to establish a masjid and community center in Norway, and they urgently need your support. This donation will be a sadaqah jariyah for you, because every person that comes a step closer to Allah through your donation, you will inshallah be reaping the reward. Click the link and donate what you can. So what's your name?
Faisal.
Faisal, and sister?
Faisal.
Faisal. Oh, Faisal and Faisal. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. No, sorry. What is it? It's Sarah. Sorry.
Sarah. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
Sarah. Okay. Sarah. Okay. So let's start off with. Okay, let's do a question each. What you said you was a Muslim?
Yeah.
Okay. What
Used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What caused you to? I was not Muslim 11 years ago. I came to Islam 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always believed in God, but I had no religion.
Yeah. I mean, wait. What was your question? Sorry.
So basically, what caused you to leave Islam?
Just that I just didn't ever believe in it. When I was ever practicing it, whenever I go to mosque or pray and stuff, I just didn't really believe in it in the sense of I didn't really actually believe there was an Allah up in the up there, like a God in general. Yeah. And when I became older, I just started to question it more and question some of the practices, I guess, and see how other people are treated in other Middle Eastern countries. Like in the Middle East, you know how it's illegal to be gay, like adultery being punished by stoning. And so I just didn't really agree with that, and I thought that was very implicated in the way they implemented Sharia law. And overall, the concept of Islam, just something that I didn't really agree with, I didn't really practice. So I just thought, why would I believe in something I don't practice? I actually believe in my heart.
So it's interesting because the thing is, I was in a similar place in the sense where I always believed in a higher power, but
it's like agnostic.
I believed in God. Yeah. So I was a theist. I was a theist. Yeah. So I was a theist, but to me, I was like, what's the purpose of life? It's like this very place. I used to come clubbing here every week myself, partying, all that kind of stuff. But I came to a point where I was like, there's more to life. I can't just be living my life like this. I mean, my socks have more of a purpose. Can you imagine my socks have a purpose? I don't have a purpose. I was like, it's not good. Okay.
That's not really a nice thing to say about yourself.
No, but it's a very important thing to say.
Humans, we don't need to have a purpose. You're just here to help people and be nice. Why do you have a purpose?
But that is a purpose. So what you said there by helping people is a purpose, correct?
Okay, but it's nothing to do with religion. You don't need to be religion to be good.
Isn't that more to do with nature and empathy?
We can come to that, but the point is this. Myself, when I look at myself, I believe I'm designed. I'm complex in design, yeah? When I look at my socks are also designed. Maybe not as complex as myself, but I was asking myself, how could my mere socks have a design, have a purpose, have a designer, but me as a human being who's far more complex in design, who can think for himself, make decisions, has a will, I'm just here randomly and I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, I can't accept that. So that's when I started looking for my purpose. Now, your question, I think, would you say you came from more of a cultural background where Islam was just told to you to just pray without explanation?
I would definitely say that. I would definitely also say that living in London as well, probably also influenced me more than if I lived in Saudi Arabia. I'd probably be more of a Muslim then. I'd probably come to different conclusions in Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Well, probably, because if you live in London, if you live in London, you're exposed to more people, you're exposed to more belief. There's not really an incentive to practice compared to Saudi Arabia, where they implement an Islamic State and the national religion there is Islam. Compared to here, where it's more Christianity, it's more secular. So there would be a difference in whether you come to believe in Islam. That would impact that, don't you think?
Okay, let me tell you something. Let me know if I'm wrong. This argument, which it is partially true, that your environment can have an impact on your decision-making factors, which I'm going to come to later. I was born in the UK.
Yeah.
My family hates Islam. Hates Islam, deep hatred, because of some issues back in the days. I became a Muslim with all of those factors around me. Clubbing, partying, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I'm not saying that can't be true.
No. So my argument is the following. There are people in Mecca, you know Mecca, where we do go that pilgrimage, that have not gone and performed pilgrimage once. Yeah. You live in the city, bro. The Kaaba is 10 minutes away from you, but they have not they haven't gone to Hajj, let alone they don't even pray. So to me, partially true and partially not, in the sense, your external factors can have an influence too, yes. But ultimately, if you are someone who is seeking the truth, if they put you in an island full of atheists, you will believe in God. So partially I agree and partially not. It's one's determination in finding the truth.
But then if you put in a land of Muslims, you might not end up believing in God anyway. So isn't that
good? So that's my point. When I mentioned Saudi Arabia, majority Muslim, there are atheists there.
That's the case here as well.
Okay,
in
good.
London, there are
But
Muslims.
you know, there's a difference between like believing in God and believing in religion. Because we believe in a creator, but believing in religion is a whole different thing.
I believe, my dear Sarah,
Sarah, yeah.
so I believe you do follow religion.
No,
so-
I believe in God.
No. I believe you follow a religion as. Would you say you're atheist?
No, I believe in God. Atheists, that you don't.
So
believe in.
you believe in God. You're a theist.
I believe in God, but I don't believe in religion.
So like
I believe someone
agnostic.
created. Yeah.
Theist.
Agnostic is like
Agnostic is when you made.
No.
but I'm
Agnostic is
100%.
more like there's a power there. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
Theism is
I'm
more of a
100%.
personal God.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
but
So
not
you're a
religion.
theist.
That's my point.
Are you a?
I would say I'm an atheist. Yeah.
Okay, you're an atheist. So I believe that both of you follow a religion. How? Let me make my argument. Yeah. If I asked you, how do you believe this universe came to be?
Evolution, natural selection, Big Bang theory, science.
It's Mother Nature. Brilliant. So that, to you, what you've done is, the difference between me and you is the following. I believe there is a creator that has the will that brought this into existence. You believe it's natural selection,
Yeah.
random chance, and evolution that brought it. So what you call God is Mother Nature. I call God of who he is. So you're giving the credit to Mother Nature. I'm giving the credit to God. Now, when it comes to how you live your life, let me ask you a question. Do you drink alcohol?
Not really. No.
Occasionally?
No.
Okay, that's good. Do you eat pork?
No.
Okay, so what is your dietary like? Can you eat any kind of food?
I don't really like think about it. I just like I've tried to eat healthier
Sorry,
recently,
can I
but
quickly
like
say something? Like, I think you're trying to like get an answer like that he might drink alcohol, but alcohol, though, I know there are some benefits to alcohol. Like, just like there's some like you eating junk food also is really bad for you. But like, if in moderation, it's actually bad. Like, I think even atheists they would agree that too much alcohol is bad for you.
Yeah.
No one's like arguing that. But like to completely cut it off is like and music is also haram as well, which it literally like helps people get out of depression, like helps them cope with like rape and stuff like that. So I don't understand why something so beautiful that brings the whole community. Music is one thing that brings people together, and food. So like, why was that something? So I'm going into a different topic.
No,
but like,
I think you made a valid point. The
Yeah.
reason I asked that was because my argument was to prove that you follow a religion, which was that,
Okay.
not that, look, when you look at alcohol, there's new studies that show any kind of alcohol is harmful for you. Not only that, it plays a direct result in breast cancer. Alcohol, even
too
alcohol.
much alcohol.
No. The
Not
recent-
just any bit.
well, I feel like
recent-
alcohol in general
recent-
can increase that. But
Recent studies, you can check in science journalism, you can check it, that any kind of alcohol has been established now as not even, like, oh, I just have all kind of alcohol has been determined as harmful to you. You know why? Because nobody starts with just, I'm just going to have one. It always leads to that. But that's not my argument. My argument is the following. To your lifestyle, you can, if you want, you can drink alcohol. I am told alcohol is not permissible. If you want, you can eat any kind of meat. I'm told not to eat pork. The difference is it's not that different, which is why I'm mentioning this. You follow a way of life, I follow a way of life.
well, it's mainly just you that follows a way of life. I don't really follow a way of life.
And
I
we
just
don't
live
like
my life.
disrespect people.
There's a difference between
like,
sorry.
you
There's a
follow
difference.
religion. Islam is like very
Like Islam is like a set of foundational
not Islam, sorry,
principles.
Muslims. Muslims can be very
Yeah.
Oh, they can be judgmental.
judgmental.
I
But I feel
get
like that
judgy
comes
for
from
being
the
Muslim.
I get
religion
that.
itself.
You guys judge
And I feel like the difference between a religion and someone who doesn't believe in a religion is that there's no restrictions on you when you when you are an atheist. There's not any restrictions on what you can do. So you're not really
That's my
living
point.
a certain way of life. You're not restricted. You're just living life, not living a certain set of standards.
That's my point. So you not having standards is your way of life. Us having standards that we cannot do is my way of life. We both have a way of life that has different terms and conditions. That's my argument. When somebody comes and says, you are a Muslim, you follow religion, I say, hold on a second, as an atheist, you also follow religion.
That's not the same thing as religion anyway, because the whole point of religion
It's a way
is
of
that
life though.
That's not the same thing as religion. That's like saying if you're a vegetarian, that's a way of life, but they don't believe in that doesn't mean they believe in like a plant god, does it?
No, it's not. But the thing is, they are following a way of life. My argument is the following. We have the creation telling us what to do, and then we have the creator telling us what to do. My argument is that when people come to this impression and think that as Muslims, we follow a God, and they don't, I'm like, okay, because Allah tells us in the Quran, have you seen the one that has one master compared to the one who has multiple masters? What does that mean? That means, for example, would you agree that your societal pressures, peer pressure, the things that you watch have an impact on your decision-making factors?
Yeah, that's the case for everyone.
Good. So that means you are not actually necessarily free. When you come and say, I'm an atheist, I choose to do A, I say, not really, because when I was not a believer in any religion, let me tell you something. The way I dressed was impacted by my society. It wasn't because I wanted to, it was because I believed I looked good in something, which, like, I always give this example. I had a specific jumper that I believed I looked really good in. I used to go to the clubs here. There used to be a penthouse club up there. Yeah, I used to wear this jumper that was so uncomfortable, but I used to wear it because I believed I looked good in it. I would go and do extra hours and work. Why? So I can fund a specific lifestyle. Why? Because of opposite gender, etc. So was I actually free? No, I wasn't. External factors were playing a role in the way I dress, the way my hair looks, the way I go gym, and all of these factors. So when we come and say, oh, I'm free, not necessarily. The difference is the following. One follows the creation, one follows the creator. Now, when I follow the creator, Islam, which we'll come to, we'll get argument to go there, if God exists, because you're an atheist, is that Allah tells me, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. I'm like, that's good, because before, I used to follow multiple people. Girls, peer pressure, trying to be rich, trying to be that. Now I have...
Real girls are real. That's something tangible. You can see them.
Yeah.
God, like, if you're being genuinely honest, there's not 1,000,000% that you know what God is. I mean, you're
right. There's not 1,000,000%. There's
like,
1,000,000,000%.
What we can see is what's there. Like.
No. Okay, sister, let me give you an example. Sorry, forgive me. Let me give you an example, just to touch upon this. Are you telling me that you only believe in things you see?
I'm not saying that.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question. Do you see...
something like God, you have to like really have some mass, because you know there's so much rules in Islam. There's something that's so like restrictive. I need something absolutely like tangible for me to see, to believe in it.
Okay, so
for a man, you could dress like that, but I can't just like, I can't wear trousers. There's lots of...
No, I have to cover. I have to cover from my navel to my knee.
Shorts, yeah, that's
I have to.
That's serious. It's the UK. It's just,
No.
Let's call it.
Still, but I am...
not serious. I have to wear a hijab. I have to... It's a women's like body. I'm sorry. Why doesn't the like Quran focus on the fact that men need to like control themselves, not just lower your gaze, it's nothing. Maybe put the emphasis on them, maybe like getting education. Why is it always
Islam is the only religion. No, I believe the Western was sexualizes women. The Western woman is the one every time. Let me tell you something.
But making women cover up for things that God naturally gave them is inherently sexualizing.
No. Okay, then why do we walk around naked?
Because we cover up. But that's just decency and modesty. Kids, decency, modesty.
Okay, why is that wrong? They were born naked. Do you get it? So where does...
But even then, with the restrictions that Islam places on it, like covering your entire mouth,
where does morality come from? Because what you've said is now, for example, who decides, okay, argument, why can't a woman not show her nipples? A man can go topless.
I mean, there's different reasons, but...
I mean, of course, because men can do whatever they want. Like,
okay, but why? So what is Western society?
Women sexualize men who are shirtless. So why? How's that? I don't understand. And also, lesbians can see girls wear hijab, but they're also sexualizing them. So I don't really understand that.
Also, times change over time. It used to be 100 years ago. It used to be that women can wear trousers, for example, but now in Western society they can. So environment and the times change over time, so that can also factor into why they. Yeah. It doesn't have to be religion. It can mainly just be.
Good. But my argument is the following. Let's first just deal with it one by one. You said about seeing God. Okay. Are you telling me that, for example, what you see, touch, feel, taste, hear is the only things you believe in? Because I'll ask you a question. Can you see your consciousness?
No.
But do you believe you're conscious?
Yes, but that's something that's like
that's
proven.
The same thing.
How is it proven?
It's proven by scientific studies of the brain, and yeah, it is.
I don't even think it's
prove to me any scientist. The scientists have a big question mark.
As soon as you get hit in the head by a bullet, you die.
No, but still, there's a big connection. Is it connected to the brain? There's a whole discussion called the hard. There's a whole book written on called the hard problem of consciousness. Is it connected to the brain or not?
Because sorry,
let me just make this argument. Is the following. For example, you do know that our cells renew itself. All of our cells in our body.
Yeah.
Okay, then why don't we become somebody else when the cells in our brain renew itself?
That's not how cells work. Cells,
but they renew themselves.
Yeah.
So then why don't I become somebody else?
Because that's not how cells would work. They don't just make you become a whole entire person. You're the same person. You're just shedding cells over time, and that's just a normal human process. But it's not gonna make you. They're gonna make you like become a whole person.
Okay, but if my consciousness is connected to my brain and my brain are made out of cells, and if cells renew itself, my argument is that consciousness, there's a whole discussion on it that it's connected to the brain. Yeah. My point is this: there are things we believe in that we don't see. Dark matter. Dark matter is something that we cannot see, touch, feel, taste, or hear, but we see the effects of it.
Well, scientists study dark matter and they come to conclusions about it. So we get our information from them. That's the same thing. Sorry?
What's the conclusion they came to? That we cannot observe it.
We can't observe it,
but we see the effects of it.
We see the effects, but we don't know that God exists. We can see the effects of dark matter, but we don't know that God exists himself to see his effects on our world.
We do, because we are the effect. So when I say we can't,
you can't just say that without any proof.
But I am. I'm using science as an example that they cannot observe dark matter. Look, they cannot see dark matter, they cannot touch dark matter, they cannot smell dark matter, they cannot hear dark matter, they cannot feel dark matter. But they believe dark matter exists. Answer question. Can we see... One
I
second.
don't really think that's how it works. I'm gonna be honest.
No, but that's not... That's a fact. We cannot see
Because that's
dark
not
matter.
really how science works. Science is supposed to be observable.
No, but that's my point. That's what I'm saying. In science literature, there's deduction as well. Yes? So the point is that they come to the fact that they see the effects of dark matter, even though they don't observe it with their five senses. Because like you said, science is all about observing.
Yeah.
Even though they don't, they see the remnants of it. It's the same with God. You don't see, touch, feel, taste, or hear God.
You're placing the effects of the world on God when you don't know if it's God doing that in the first place.
No, but I have evidence for that. The first thing I
You
mentioned
can't just say our world is the evidence though, because that's
No, of
just
course I can, because-
placing it. That's like, okay, so I could say the Christian God is the same thing. He's the reason for this.
So the
I
God
can
is
tell
not
you-
helping us. I
There's
don't
multiple
really see,
different
like,
gods.
really strong evidence that God is
Yeah.
there. Like,
Firstly,
if he's all loving, it really should be happening.
Firstly, we have to agree that just because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because I gave the example of consciousness and dark matter. Two things that we don't see but we believe exist.
Yeah, but there's no evidence that God exists. There's none.
Okay,
Yeah.
but to be consistent, we accept consciousness and dark matter exist without us
But
observing
there's
it.
studies done on both. There's studies done on both
That
to observe the results of them and then to see like what they can.
there is not a single
what they
study
are.
that is done on dark matter or consciousness that's to say that we can see it. Zero.
Yeah, but you can look inside the brain to see how the brain works,
You
how
can,
it factors
you
into
can
consciousness.
put wires in the brain and see.
We can see our brain and we can see how
can see
different
waves.
parts of the brain interact with each other
Seeing,
and how they create our
moving.
consciousness. You can't do that with God. You can't study God.
When they put things in your head and they see how your brain activity works, I am talking about consciousness. It is immaterial. Consciousness is immaterial. Dark matter is immaterial. What I'm saying is we see the effects of it. Now, I'm saying, can we see God? No. Can we touch God? No. Can we feel God? No. Can we taste God? No. But we still, if we're consistent, if you accept dark matter and consciousness without seeing, touching, feeling, tasting, or hear, why is there a double standard when it
I
comes to
don't think
God?
that's really how it works.
Because
Dark
God
matter
is
and
a whole
consciousness.
other thing.
Yeah, and especially when dark matter and consciousness are different processes that there are studies done in them and there are like ways to physically see them. If you think of the consciousness in the brain,
there is no.
Okay, well, we'll disagree. We'll agree to
no,
disagree on
not
that.
disagree. There is not a single study. I'm just genuinely, not just to win an argument. Genuinely, there is not a single study
So all the
that
studies-
says there is not a single study that says we can observe dark
So all
matter.
the studies on the brain, on how that works, how that different,
Can we
how
move on
how
to
people
that
went.
conversation? I feel like there's a lot of things.
No, I know, but in order for us to establish everything when it comes to morality, how dressing, etc., it all starts here. My point is this: you guys believe in things you don't see, but when it comes to God, you say no. I'm
Because
saying
people study them
God
and they
is
observe
like-
the effects of them and they study them. We can see like for the consciousness, for example, we can see inside the brain and see how
I'm
different
talking about
parts.
consciousness. I'm not talking about the
Well,
brain.
consciousness is from the brain.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
Where would it be from?
But that's my point. That's what I'm saying is that consciousness, there's a whole discussion called the
Well,
hard
that-
problem of consciousness. It is not, there's a whole discussion about it. Big scientists are discovering. My argument is the following. Just because you cannot see something does not mean it doesn't exist. That's the first premise I'm making so we can move on. Me proving God. God proving God is very easy for me. The first thing I'm trying to establish is this. We as human beings believe in things we don't see.
Well, not all of us. Well, I mean,
No, we have to, like gravitational force. There are many things that we...
It's a human thing.
you can
No,
observe
I
it.
understand, but let's be consistent. I'm saying, if we're going to apply that to other places, why is it when it comes to God, no, I have to seem to believe, but you don't do it with other things?
God is
Because the
demanding
whole point
so
of
much
God-
stuff. The dark,
Yeah,
dark matter
and
then-
is a choice to can.
And then when
We're
he
gonna
says
come
he's
to that.
creating everything and that we have to follow his religious
Good.
book, we need to see evidence
Good.
that he exists.
Okay, good.
Believe
So-
it's
Your
not
holy
like
book
that,
is not
yeah.
enough for that.
Perfect.
That's like saying that's the same argument
Circular
as
argument.
Christians. As
Circular
Christians saying the same thing.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's be consistent. We don't see consciousness, we believe in it. We don't see dark matter, we believe in it. So therefore, with God, when we don't see it, you cannot deny Him. Now I can prove to you God exists.
Okay, prove it.
Good. Okay. So the first thing we establish is that if we don't see something, does not mean it doesn't exist. Now I'll prove to you God exists. For example, number one, do you have a mobile phone?
Yes.
Do you mind if you take it out? I can take mine. Okay, no problem. It's fine. I'm just trying to make it.
London, you know.
Yeah, we don't want to get our phones snatched.
I'm on YouTube, like here, yeah.
I
Okay.
know, yeah.
I'll give you a phone case as an example, yeah. This phone case, does it have a shape?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this have a design?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it have a purpose?
Yes.
Okay, good. Am I more complex in design or this case?
You.
Okay. So did we go to the factory to see this phone case made?
No.
Okay. But we do believe that it's designed and it has a purpose
Because
and
there's
it
like
has
video
a
evidence.
But
I'm
there's
sure
video
we could go out
evidence
to find
before
that
other
it
phone cases
exists.
being
Go out
made in
to find
factories.
it.
That's not the case with God though.
Okay, did you go to the factory?
But we could.
But
that's
there's
the
video
thing, we
evidence
could,
before
in the, like,
factories.
once
We
I
know
got
how
the
factory
possible
production
now.
works. We have the extensive prior knowledge of how factories works and how they make phones. We don't have the extensive prior knowledge of how God works and if he even exists. If there's video evidence of that. We have video evidence of factories. There's no video evidence of God.
And we can go to factories to see
Yeah, we
them.
could go
don't
there.
need to see videos.
Did you guys go to the factory?
But we could. That's the
But
thing.
we could,
that's
though.
the thing.
Could is in the future. I'm talking about now. Potential.
I actually did work in a factory.
Okay, good. So you have experience in the factory.
Okay, and so that's so I have.
Okay, so are you telling me that if you did not work in a factory, you would deny that this has a design? So let's suppose you never saw a factory, you never worked in a factory, you walk and you say this on the phone, go, just came from nothing. Or would you say it has a design?
We would say I have extensive prior knowledge of factories and videos of factories and being taught about factories and what they are.
I said if you did not, argument, I said if you did not, would you deny this has a design? If you didn't have it, okay, good.
No.
You will use your intuition and your rational faculties to come to common factors, conclusions, which is has a shape, has a design, has a purpose, has a designer.
But then that's the same thing with planet Earth. There's other reasons for its design, like natural selection, evolution.
I'm gonna come to
the
that.
purpose. The purpose and the design could be from that, not God.
I'm going to come to my argument why that has to be God. My argument is the following. If not having prior knowledge does not deny this design, neither you go into the factory. Going to the factory means I will go. But right now you believe it's a design without going, which means you're using your rational faculties to come to conclusions, this has a design. And I said, are you more complex in design or this? So my argument is the following, to be consistent. If we're going to look at this, without going to the factory or potentially going to the factory and accept that it has a design, you are far more complex in design. So the conclusion is the following. If this is design, you have to be designed because you're far more complex.
Well, no, because we have video evidence of how the design of that is made in the first place.
No, but I said
I
to
don't
you...
think that's a good example, like God in a phone case.
It's
Like,
not. I don't think that's very comparable
No,
to God.
One second, guys, look, I'm saying to you, if you did not go to the
I know,
factory...
I know, no,
look,
your point.
No, look, I'm saying...
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm saying that if you had no prior knowledge or no future knowledge of going to the factory, you've never been to the factory and you haven't gone to the factory, in this very moment of time, using our rational logical faculties, we will come to a conclusion this has a design. Okay. I'm saying, as human beings, your eye is far more complex in design than this mere phone case. So, if that's the case, your eye has to have a designer.
But that designer is natural evolution and natural selection.
Okay, good. So now you've accepted that there's a designer, but you're saying that it's natural evolution. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another example, just want to give a supporting argument why there is design, is your DNA. Do you know your DNA, a single strand of DNA, has more information in it than every single book on this planet?
Yeah.
Okay, if there's information, it requires intelligence.
You know, you're explaining God exists, you're not explaining why Islam exists.
No, Islam is a whole different discussion because right here, he doesn't believe...
the whole thing about Islam.
No, I know, but Islam will come to later because he's an atheist. He doesn't believe it. For me to go to Islam, he's going to say, like he said, I don't want to go to your book. He said, rightly so, he would say, you're going to try to prove to me God exists with the Quran. You don't even believe the Quran is from God.
No.
Good. That's why. So what I'm trying to do is, you're a theist. You believe it, but he's not. So I want to cater for him. So we're on the same page. Then we can both go to Islam. So my argument is the following: if there's information requires intelligence. Correct?
Yeah.
Good. So the reason why you look the way you do and the way you do and the way I do is DNA. It's information. Now, you said that that is evolution. Evolution is what? Evolution is don't take God out of the picture. Evolution talks about in a certain amount of time, like if you give an infinite amount of, certain amount of time, there is a chance this can happen. But where did the first cell come from?
Sorry?
The first cell.
First cell.
That first cell that replicates itself, etc. Where did this come? Because the first cell is a very complex thing.
I mean, true, but it would have been billions and billions of years ago. But then that's just it. Why are you putting God into evolution and natural selection in the first place? Or is there evidence that he was ever implicated into, like, if you're saying there's the reason, designer behind evolution and natural selection, you'd have to prove that he ever did design in the first place.
It has to be, because the thing is, the first cell is designed. It's made of complex
like
things.
you said, it could have been chance, like for the first one.
Chance, what does it mean by chance? Because chance is something that is very random. And in science, you don't really have chance. Because, for example, if I flipped a coin and I said heads or tails, as a scientist, if I knew all the factors, I would know exactly the results. There is no chance in science because science deals with what is known. If we know all the factors when throwing a dice, the angle you throw it, the temperature, the weather, all that kind of stuff, we will know the exact results. We only call it chance is because we just made this word up. There is no chance in science. So to me, when we talk about the universe, did the universe come from nothing or something?
I mean, it came from something.
Okay, what is that thing? Because the universe has order.
Hey, can I ask who created God? Can I ask that? Because I know you say God can't, but it makes no sense.
Okay, so before we come to who created God, we need to establish if God exists. My point is this:
I've used. Keep going on about this. I feel like we want to know about Islam and why that is.
I understand, but he's an atheist. I need to prove God to him.
Are you trying to convert him?
We can still talk about Islam without talking about God.
No, we have to, because you know why? It's me talking about Islam is I need to prove God exists. Then I can talk about moral
You
arguments
don't
and
have to
morality.
prove God exists for us to talk about the rules and practices of the Quran. And
Well, of course. Then I need to show you why Islam is the truth and not Christianity or not any of them.
But I feel like we're just going on a tangent here. We're just going to be talking
Not
about
really,
it
because the thing is, I've provided evidences which you didn't deny about the design, about the information, the DNA.
Yeah, but then you're implicating God into that anyway when there's no evidence for God being implicated in that in the first place.
No,
And if
but-
there was a creator and designer for everything,
Yeah.
then who's the creator or designer for God?
But that's my point, because we say that God is the necessary being. If there was
Well, you're
another
just
God-
saying that to say it. Then
No,
how do you know?
I'm not-
Where's the
I'm not-
evidence that God is a
that's
necessary being?
No, but that's my argument. So what I'm saying is that I showed you the design argument from yourself. I used the DNA information. Information requires intelligence. I showed you that the form case that we have, you're far more complex. Those are evidences to God existing. Now you're asking me who
It's
created God.
It's evidence for factory production, DNA,
So what?
evolution.
No, evolution is a blind process. How does blind process give order?
Well, I mean, I get that, but still,
But
I just don't-
Can it
how
come
does that
from
prove
nothing?
the existence of God?
Okay, can 0 equal 1?
No.
Okay, so something began the universe. Because it cannot come from nothing. Can something come from nothing?
But then, what did God come from?
Okay,
yes,
that's my point.
Because that just keeps going. What
No,
came
no,
from
no,
God?
no,
What
no,
came
no,
from the
no,
person
I can
that created
answer
God?
that, but first
What came
you-
from the person that created that person? What came from the person that created that
good.
thing?
Then we will never be here. That's my point. So do you accept that we have to have a power source that created everything?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be God.
Okay, what is it?
I'm not sure. No one really knows.
No. Logically and rationally, if something, for example, if I show you a painting, by looking at a painting, there are certain things that you can know about the painter. Number one, that the painter exists. You've never seen him. Number two, he's drawing. You know he had the will to paint. Number three, he's good at painting. There's so many attributes that you can give to that painter by just looking at the painting. So when I look at you and the way you're created, your mouth, your tongue, your eyes, etc., you cannot come and tell me evolution randomly, all of a sudden put your teeth in your mouth. So lucky. And your digestive
That
system.
makes more sense than Allah being.
Okay, let me get this
Even
right.
then, the painter was the
Okay,
one-
that makes more sense that a evolution, a first cell, randomly, no order, came from nothing, popped into existence, gave us order so much that my legs are in its right place,
I mean,
my
I feel
eyes
like
in
you're-
but let me tell you something. How does that make more
I
sense?
think you're just
I
assuming that humans have a
why
purpose on this
would I know
planet.
Of
why
course.
When it doesn't really have to be the truth.
would create people just for us to worship him.
No, but
I know it's a bit like
your
arrogant.
argument is
No, it's
your,
like- yeah.
your question why God did something. I'm trying to prove God exists, and so far I've given evidences that you guys haven't rebuked. All you ask me is,
Not make
It doesn't really make
It really
sense.
doesn't make sense.
okay, so God, a creator, exists, gives order,
I was just trying to
but
say,
the
why is
universe
there
kept
only
popped on
one? Why is there
nothing.
only one? Why is that? That makes
And
no
what,
sense.
what do you think about all the other
Multiple
religions like
things.
Christianity?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
But the reason why I'm going to tell you why not Christianity
They make
is
the
because
same
of this.
arguments as you,
No,
though.
they don't. Let me tell you why.
They would.
Because they believe Jesus is God. We don't believe man is God. Yes. So that's why I
Then
told
they
you
just
about the
say they
no.
just make
look,
the same
look,
arguments.
look. I can make an. Look, I've shown you a couple of arguments why God exists. Yes, which is that it cannot come from nothing. The universe cannot come from
But then
nothing.
you're
It is
saying
an
it's
impossibility.
God. You don't have any proof it's God. You're just saying
it
it's
has.
God.
Look, it has to be God because there is no other
It
explanation.
doesn't have to be. There can be another application. We don't know for
How?
sure. How do you know
How?
for sure it's God?
It's because
How do
from
you know for
nothing,
sure?
nothing comes.
But you don't know it's God for sure.
Okay. Is there
Why-
no?
how do
Okay.
you know for sure?
Okay.
Prove to me for
Did
sure.
our universe begin to exist?
Sorry?
Did our universe begin to exist?
Yes, at some point.
Okay, so then that means a being gave rise to it, willed it.
Maybe not God.
1 second, okay. If somebody wills something, they have the power of will, meaning they decided for the universe to begin to exist. So that's an attribute.
Wait, can you repeat that?
That's an attribute. The universe began to exist, meaning something or some being willed the universe to begin.
Yes, but how? Do
God.
you have any proof that's God?
Okay.
You said to yourself something.
Let's not
Doesn't
call
have to be a being.
Let's not call it God. Does this thing have the power of will?
I mean, yes.
Okay, good. Is there information in our universe?
Yeah.
Then that means if there's information in our universe, that thing, whatever it is, has to have knowledge.
I mean, I guess.
Okay.
It depends. I guess it
is there
depends on how
power
you.
in our universe?
Yeah.
Okay, that means that being or whatever it is that willed it has knowledge, has also power.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that is who we call Allah.
But then it couldn't.
But that's who we call Allah.
There might not be a being. It might be a thing. It might have been like the Big Bang.
Whatever
That
you
might
want-
have been what created the
No,
universe.
No, 1 second. Big Bang is a material thing. I'm telling
Yeah,
you before
but it
the
doesn't
Big
have
Bang.
to be. It doesn't have to be a being. You said yourself it could be something.
Okay, but I said to you that
The Big Bang is that something.
Okay, look, that something that has willed it, has knowledge, has power, is Allah.
Well, it depends on how you define power and knowledge.
How-
The Big Bang has power, but might not have the knowledge. It might have just created everything.
Big Bang does not have power on its own. Big Bang
What do you
started
mean?
at one
It
point.
creates the entire.
No, it didn't. What
That
came
in
before
itself
the
would
Big
be
Bang?
power.
My friend, it's like me giving you £50 and you thank the £50. I gave you it. You're giving credit to the £50, not me. I'm saying the Big Bang.
There's a difference between the 50 pound and you and the Big Bang and God.
No, but the comparison I'm giving is, it's like me giving you £50 and you're like, £50, thank you very much. I'm like, I gave you it. You're giving the credit to the wrong place.
Would
No,
give-
that
then
actually
we
reminds
should
me. No, I actually want to say something. That
What's-
reminds me. Sorry. You know how, when something good happens in your life, you thank Allah. When something bad happens in your life, you thank shaitan. Like,
no, we don't thank shaitan. We thank Allah.
No, saying when something bad happens, you say it's because of shaitan.
No.
Well, I mean Allah.
Because Allah says in the Quran, the good and the bad is from Allah.
Okay, but anyway, let's play that. You thank Allah when something good happens. It's like you take the credit from you because you're the one who did the work. Allah did not help you.
Did what work? I did. Look,
did I? You're the one who got yourself out of that situation.
No, I didn't. Let me tell you something. Look, let me tell you something. Because I didn't wake up and say I want my eyes to be working, my heart. I didn't create myself. God created me, so why would I give credit to myself when it's
implicating God into the process of making you?
No, because I have many.
You're implicating yourself into all these different processes that make up you.
No,
but there's no
but
evidence that God would ever that to
no, but that's why I give you.
Saying that's like a Christian saying, "Oh, God was there to make me." The Christian God was there to make me. That's like you saying the Muslim God was there to make me.
No, not the Muslim God. The reason why I told you a being who has a will, who has power, who has knowledge, has to have these attributes because they are in the universe. So he has to be the all-knowing. He has to be the all-powerful. He has to have a will.
It doesn't have to be any of
how could something give some rise to something that it doesn't innately have?
Because of adaptation and evolution over time.
No, what does that mean?
Yeah, because we've evolved to have different features.
You don't even know what that means. What do you mean by adaptation? No, you're making words that you don't even know what it means. What do you mean by adaptation? What does that mean?
Just over time, humans evolving.
What does that mean? Look, if I had an empty cup here and I said give it infinite amount of time, we will have a Ferrari. The components to make a Ferrari are not in the cup. Time is irrelevant to the equation. So what I'm saying is the following, that thing we're talking about, the reason we call it Allah and not the Christian God or any other God is the reason. Christians believe Jesus is God. We say God cannot be a man. So we say that's the reason why that cannot be God. The Hindus come and say we believe in 1 million gods, the God of power and the God of this and the God of that. We say no, God has to be one. Which you asked, why is God one but not 10? Because if there was more than one God, Allah says in the Quran, there would have been chaos because there would be gods fighting each other. That's why God has to be one. So my argument, let me tell you why.
And why is theirs more less than yours?
Let me tell you why. This is my final argument which solidifies why God exists. It's an argument from contingency. There are 3 types of existence. There's impossible existence, there is necessary existence, and there is contingent existence. Yeah. For example, an impossible existence is a triangle square. It cannot exist. Am I right? Because a triangle has 3 sides and a square has 4 sides. So you cannot have a triangle square. Would you agree?
Yes.
Good. So we're left with 2 possibilities: a necessary existence and a possible existence. Me and you, we are contingent beings. We depend on other things for our survival. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what we say is the following: we cannot have an infinite regress of dependent things. So I depend on food, and food depends on this, and our planet depends on the gravitational force, and the universe, and the sun, and da-da-da-da-da. You cannot have an infinite regress of dependent things. That's why I said it all has to stop at one point, which is the necessary being, because he's independent, self-sufficient, and he's the one that begins on. Otherwise, we would never be here if you said, well, who created God? Who created God? We will have a fallacy of infinite regress which goes on forever and we will never be here. That's the reason why you need to have a necessary being that is independent, self-sufficient, and is not composed of pieces. That's my argument, because otherwise you have an infinite regress of dependent things. That's just another argument, supporting argument for God exists. Now, if you accept that, then I can move on to Islam. No, but I think it's a very valid argument from necessary, from design, from information, intelligence, that God exists. Okay. There's no other explanation.
All right.
But you're on board, you believe anyways, but...
No, I believe in that God exists, but that he left us. I can't...
Why would he leave us? What kind of God is that? What kind of purpose is God is that?
He witnesses all this shit that's going on.
So it's a problem of evil.
Okay. How he created us? He can choose to do it.
No, so
I just don't understand the claim that he's all-loving God if he's like not.
Good. This is why when I talked about the being, another attribute we give to God Almighty, Allah, is He's the all-wise. Because there are evil things that happen on earth. I'll give you an example. My child, 3 years old, doesn't know anything about fire. There's a fire, and I see her running, and I'm like, the closest thing to me is my leg, got long legs. I'm gonna kick my child and divert them from the fire. To my child, do you not think they are seeing fire as something they can play with? I kicked her. Does she think I'm evil?
No.
Why not? I just kicked her. She was going to play with fire.
She's a child. She believes in you. You're their guardian.
No, but I kicked her.
Yeah, but they don't understand.
That's my point. She's not going to say, Dad kicked me and start crying.
They hurt because of the pain, but they don't understand it.
Good, but are they not going to cry and say, why did God...
Yes, they will.
Okay, good.
Yes, they will.
But what was my intent?
Your intent was to get them out of danger.
Good. So just because they don't have the wisdom in what I was doing, they saw me as that is evil, but that saved your life. The point is the same with
The
God.
child's gonna move on. They're not gonna think that dad is evil like that. It's a bit.
No,
I think
no.
the comparisons are very like a phone to God, a phone case to God, and then that's
I mean, they-
completely different.
I mean, they work because you didn't contend against it.
That's not evil. How God.
I never said my daughter's going to know me as evil for the rest of her life. I'm going to say in that moment in time she's going to be sad.
They're not going to do evil. Evil's a bit dramatic.
Okay, all right, no problem. Dad hurt me. Dad is what do you want to call? Don't call it evil. What do you want to call it?
Okay, well, the point is, they're
What do you
going
wanna
to
call
move
it?
on from it. They're going to move on from it.
It's just I didn't say they're going to remember for the rest of their life because when they grow up, they're going to know why I did it. My point is the following. You said there are bad things happening on earth. That's called the problem of evil. You're saying if God exists, why is he letting it happen? And my point is this. We have the pixel, he has the picture. Just because you don't know why a certain thing happened doesn't mean it's bad. How many times in life I've gone through stuff which was terrible, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because Allah says in the Quran, you might hate something which is good for you and you might love something which is bad for you. How many times?
What about child
People
rape?
go through
Is that
shit
good?
all the time. Like, you're not
No,
making sense.
dude, these are innately evil. I'm saying
Why
sometimes.
would Allah allow that to happen to someone? Is
Why-
that
why
like
are
a test or a
children
trial?
having
Why
sex
are they allowed
Okay.
to happen to a child who's just been born?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the
What
following.
test are they learning?
Has Allah said raping a child is good? No.
No, but why is he allowing that to happen?
Okay.
Why would he test a child like that?
Okay,
Why
good.
do you
What-
create people who think like that?
Okay, good. What I'm saying to you is the following. There are people who go through different difficulties in life. Rape, murder, killing, cancer, natural disasters, etc. Yeah? And there are two types of people. There are people who take lessons out of the stuff that they went through, and there are people who rebel against it. Why did this happen to me? Why did that? I've seen people in both spectrums. There are those who said, you know what? I went through this specific thing in life. It was traumatic for me. It really made me question, but it made me better and more of a closer relationship with
Why
God.
do you
But
go
that
through
can happen
that
with a
just to
child.
learn
If a
lessons,
child
learn
gets
lessons?
raped, how does that make them better? That gives them trauma for
No,
the rest of their life.
no.
People
What I'm
learn things in
what
different ways.
I'm saying hasn't commanded anyone to rape anybody. If a person does that evil, that is the reason why, to your worldview, as an atheist, you have no explanation for a disabled person. You have no explanation for the child that got raped. What justice can you give that person by saying, sorry guys, it's evolution? Not only that, our brain are made from evolution. You're going to say, you know what? You can't even blame anybody because the evolution
That
process...
can be an explanation.
How?
Because
From
just
the
over time.
atheistic perspective. So
Sorry?
how? From the atheistic perspective, our brains have evolved. How could you even trust your brain that you're here? How do you know we're not in the Matrix?
I mean, there are people who believe that, but then we just look around us and we just observe everything anyway.
Okay, good. So what I'm talking about, this is why morality has to come from God answering your questions about Islam. When we talk about morality, if we don't have objective morality, we have subjective morality, which means the following. You asked about clothing.
But our morality is based on our empathy and our humanity anyway.
No, in what way?
Like if you see a starving person on the street,
Yes.
you will help them.
Not everyone.
Well, not everyone, sure, because everyone's different personalities. But our basic empathy that like most people have, and some people might not have it because of their, they might be psychopaths, they just might be not morally inclined because of whatever's going on in their life.
But where did they get the morality from? Like, for example, today we're living at a time where they want to make incest legal. Do you believe incest is moral?
No,
Okay, why?
because
On
of the
what
harm
argument?
it can do to the future child and the fact that
What
it's
harm? If they use protection.
defects at birth,
Protection.
protection.
A brother and sister having intimacy. They use protection. How is that?
Protection is not going to protect
But just-
everything.
but
It's not
just-
going to make you not
Not get what? They're not gonna have children.
No.
It's just the fact that you're related that it would just be wrong because it's two people who have similar DNA.
But they love each other.
I wouldn't really classify as love.
Why not? Because now, see, what's happened now subjectively, like, would you, forgive me, it's personal, sexual orientation. Are you straight?
Yeah.
Okay, so, now my argument is the following. There are people who are gay, and they say, I love men. Okay, so we say, then why do you not support incest rights for a brother and sister to marry each other?
Very disrespectful
that's not
to
the same
compare
thing, though.
people that love it, two adults, consenting adults, to
I think it's more disrespectful for the community that if two men love each other,
people that
You
are
can make apples
legal,
and
right?
oranges.
to-
why illegal? Who decided to be
Legal.
illegal? Oh, sorry, legal.
Illegal.
Because
It's illegal.
Legal.
Who does-
It's illegal.
What is homosexuality actually harm? What does it harm?
Of course, like, for example,
Straight people like
There's-
straight people harm a lot.
those who have
A
sex
lot.
outside of marriage. Correct. That's why we believe the nuclear family is what we're talking about here.
But people have the nuclear family without believing in a religion. They can be atheists.
Not necessarily, because the reason why today what we have
There's tons
is
of people who have nuclear families who are atheists.
no. Of course, that's what I'm saying. You need objective morality to have your morals. Otherwise, you have subjective
Other people
morality.
see morality differently. That's the thing.
But do you see one
but then
thing?
a
You
baseline
guys-
morality can come from cultural background, who you are as a person. It can even be in some ways biological, like mirror neurons, like that kind of stuff.
There is no evidence biologically about someone being that, but what I'm saying is the following. You are talking about subjective things. I told you about incest. You said, no, how could it be? But a person, there are people in courts in Europe, they are trying to fight for incest rights. So they're saying, how come your love is love when you marry a man and a man or a woman, but my love to my daughter or my love to my sister or my brother, you're denying my love. Do you see my point?
Because firstly, a dad and daughter, he watched the child grow up. That's demented.
Okay, you can say you can.
People
brother
are
and
loving
sister
each
growing
other.
up
What is
together
demented about
and
that? I actually
just
want to know.
doing that
And you can
together.
bring up the
Why is it
STD argument
why is it
like
demented that a brother and sister love each other and they want to have intimacy?
They grew up with each other.
Yeah, they grew up together.
That's what made them love each other more.
But they
But do you see where are you coming
And
from? with
society
your
comes
argument?
up with standards by itself anyway.
Good,
on
that's the
incest.
problem. When society
But you
comes
don't
to
need
an argument,
religion to do that.
yes, you do. Let me tell you why. For example, Allah says in the Quran, He tells us the people who can marry and the people who cannot marry. In today's time, when you don't have a guideline and a way of life, that's why I was saying, I have a way of life, you have a way of life, you have a way of life.
But you don't need God for that way of life.
You do, because if you don't, this is the reason why today they're trying
But
to
then
legalize incest.
Why do atheists live?
And not only that,
non-fulfilled
and by the way,
lives?
pedophilia as well.
incest is like a big thing in Muslim countries, by the way.
Sorry, what is
Incest
that?
is a big thing in Muslim countries.
Okay, what do you mean by incest?
I'm just incest.
No, what's incest? What's the definition of incest?
Is marrying someone that you're related to. Is dating someone that you're related to.
How? Who defined that?
I don't know who
Like, for
defined
example, you're marrying your first cousin. How's
Why are you answering the
the
question
laws?
though?
Okay, good, but that's my issue. But that's my issue. When you say society decides it, society is decided from a subjective source, which is the brain, which they do not know. This is why I said to you, God is
No,
the
it is from the
all-knowing.
brain then. No God.
No, that's my argument. The subjective people who don't believe in God, where do they get their morality from? They observe, they think, oh, this is good. But we know the harms. For example, pornography. Pornography is legal, correct?
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest disasters on human history when what it does to human beings. Okay, there are people like Ted Bundy who's gone on a massive killing spree because he saw a pornographic magazine when he was young.
And God
so
is watching that and not getting involved.
God,
You know, in any
okay,
second he
God,
can stop it.
no.
So why
That's the
not?
point. That's why I said that being has to be the all-wise, because there are things that we don't understand, and just because we don't understand doesn't mean it's wrong. Because there's a day of judgment. For your worldview, a child that was raped, how could you give them justice in this life?
Imprisoning
No
the
way.
person that raped them.
Okay, and how's that going to bring them back anything?
And therapy and counselling and trying to rehabilitate
you
them back
think
into
that's
society.
gonna help
Good. But the point
Knowing
is,
that this hell is not going to help them cope or anything like that.
Hitler killed-
Something like that might not happen. If
Okay.
you punish someone right now, they can see it is definite.
Okay.
You punish it, but like telling them there might be help.
But
It's not
what-
really-
Yeah,
but-
might be on the day of
And you have
judgment.
to
but
put
they
okay,
might
good,
not be
but
the
good. That's my
evidence
point.
that-
So we're
that's
saying
not
from our
justice.
worldview, there is justice in the hereafter. There's this world. If you look at this world just by our life that we live here, nothing will make sense. That's why God makes sense to everything. Morality, all the stuff you get. Otherwise, you have subjective people. Like, for example, they're trying to legalize pedophilia. And what do you define as the legal age? In the UK, it's 16. In France, they made it 15. You go to America, it's 14, 12. So where
I
do
think
you
in
get
America
them?
it's like
It's like the
18,
Muslim
isn't it?
No. In
Well, I guess it
Turkey,
depends
in
on the states,
Saudi,
but-
certain countries. But in certain states, with parental consent, you can get married at 12. There was 250,000
I mean, I
girls
don't agree
who...
with that, but don't we have studies on the brain and the psychology to understand when someone can consent to that kind of stuff
Okay,
anyway?
but see, what I'm saying is the following. When we don't have God, we are all over the place. Because we're trying to find
We
truths.
aren't always
Wait,
all over the
wait,
place.
wait, wait,
Because
wait,
in
wait,
London
God
right now,
anyways.
No, we're
in
not.
Britain
We
right
are.
now, which is
No,
very
look
secular,
at how
can
the
be.
world is
Look
in
at London right now.
That's
Are we all
because
over
of
the
no
place?
God.
Is
That's
London
because of
all
no
over
God.
the place?
Sorry?
Is
There is what?
Yeah, we say-
is London all over the
Majority
place?
do believe in God.
The reason
I think
why-
People who
acting
don't
on
and
it.
do believe in God, but the people who don't believe in God aren't always all over the place. And it can even be the
They are,
people.
they are.
It can
All
even
these
be the
people
people.
like KKK, all like
What about in
religions,
Islam?
all like
No,
What about
you're-
in Islamic countries
She
where they
doesn't
are all
say
over the
that.
place and
One
that people
second,
facing
one second.
persecution
Sorry?
for being gay, for having adultery, for
Yes.
doing
Yeah, these-
things
these-
that
these-
those countries don't see as right.
Yes.
So what about the people that are suffering in those and being all over the place in those
Okay.
countries?
Okay, so because the reason is because Islam deals with protecting the communal rights as a whole. So, for example, do you believe drinking alcohol casually is okay?
Yeah.
Why?
Because in this country,
Because
it's
society
just
is so- thank
culture
you.
and what people want to do.
Good.
And we just believe that if alcohol in a limited, in like a tiny, like, restrained amount, not like you're becoming an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Restrained amount, occasionally that's okay.
Good. So what you've done is, by society standards and peer pressure and other cultural things, you've decided that someone just having a little glass here is...
And also we can just see the effects of alcohol on the brain, on the liver. So we all know that in certain quantities it can be okay, but in a large amount it could just be really
Good.
bad.
So recent
And there are
studies,
benefits to it.
recent studies show opposite. The recent studies show that any form of alcohol is not good for you. Recent studies, you can check it. Why? Because let me ask you a question. Somebody drinks, and then they swerve and hit 4 people, which happens a lot. I was watching a documentary a couple of days ago. drink driver.
No one's denying that though.
But one second, one second.
Moderation.
That's like we're saying.
One
in
second.
quantities, 'cause
That
if we care how
moderation,
people
that
feel-
moderation that guy started. I'm sure he didn't wake up one day and said, "I'm going to have 4 vodkas." He started with a glass, and that glass led to another glass and another
but
glass
that's what
that
they're
he
saying
drank.
in the first place. That's what alcohol. Sorry, I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Drinking more is though, like
that's
It's like eating a lot of junk food. It does that.
Faisal?
Junk food is harm.
yeah.
Faisal, that's my point. My point is this. What Islam does is the following. Prevention is better than cure. Instead of saying, hey, look, guys, no, Islam says, no, my friend.
But preventing
One person,
everything-
no, but this is what I'm saying. You're behind a casino. Do you know how many lives get destroyed by a casino? Do you know how many men commit suicide because they spend their wealth on, they go here, a woman...
But the whole point is the law gives them that free will to do that.
But that's the point. The point is, this is why Islam, I believe is the truth, all religions, yeah? Because God tells you what is good for you before you test trial and kill yourself.
But even then, there's certain things in religion that you might believe aren't good for you anyway.
Let's talk about what is good for you. Casino, going and gambling. A man who has kids at home goes and takes his life savings and wastes it in under 10 minutes. Is that good or bad?
Okay, yes, it can be bad, but someone
yes, it
repressing...
can be bad.
On the
Is it
flip
good or
side, with Islam, someone repressing their sexuality, their
Islam encourages
orientation,
that as well.
that can be bad for them too.
No.
There's loads of mental health consequences for doing that.
We will come to that. My argument is, let's deal with what God says. Drinking alcohol. Is it good or bad? It's the biggest poison on earth that is legal. You know how many people go to NHS, liver cancer, breast cancer, which is caused by that, by the way. I think it's really funny because they do a march for breast cancer and they go and drink and celebrate with wine, which causes the breast cancer, yeah?
It doesn't cause you just to have a glass of wine. I'm making an argument that if
Sister,
you have junk food, too much of it,
what's the
you
time?
also do the same thing.
Sorry.
It's actually pretty. We're just going to Chinese.
Yeah,
like-
9:36.
Do you mind if we go off to... Do you want to go to the quick place now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if we're going to go to the quick place?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so anyways, there you can see, guys, we're trying to make some nice discussions, but yeah, look, you know, this is the issue. You know, when we're trying to make arguments for why God exists, etc., I mean, you can't really force people. If somebody doesn't want to believe, they don't want to believe, you know, and I was there having a discussion, a dialogue, trying to prove to them, but it's just like one after another, bang, 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 and then before I can answer it, we're going to go. Why? Because it makes sense. It makes logical explanation. It makes sense. So anyways, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them, inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a masjid for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will build for him a similar house in Jannah. On that day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that our books will be given and every little atom weight of good deed you've done will be there. And imagine you see a mountain and you're like, what a lucky person, which righteous person? And Allah says, this is for you. For me? Yes. What did I do? You allowed people to pray. You built a masjid. I never had the money to build a masjid, oh Allah. You helped, you gave towards it, and Allah gives you the reward of as if you've built it. Donate now, guys, and do not delay. And share the video for extra rewards.